Few names cast a shadow as long and as dark as Joseph Stalin. A man of contradictions, he was both savior and tyrant, architect of progress and perpetrator of unspeakable horrors. Born in obscurity, he rose to become the iron-fisted ruler of the Soviet Union for 3 decades. His name evokes images of industrial might, military victory, and unwavering resolve. But these achievements are forever stained by the brutal reality of his reign: the forced collectivization, the show trials, the gulags, and the millions who perished under his rule. Was he a necessary evil, a ruthless pragmatist who dragged Russia into the 20th century at any cost? Or was he a monster, a dictator driven by paranoia and lust for power? The answer, like the man himself, remains a chilling enigma. Joseph Vissarionovich Djougashvili, the man who would become Stalin, was born in the small Georgian town of Gori in 1878. His childhood was harsh. His father, a cobbler, was a violent drunk. Poverty and hardship were ever present. At 7, young Iosif contracted smallpox, leaving his face scarred. A few years later, he was struck by a carriage, permanently damaging his left arm. These early hardships seemed to forge within him a sense of resentment and a thirst for power. He found solace and purpose in the teachings of Karl Marx. Marxism offered an escape from the injustices of his youth, a vision of a world free from oppression and inequality. He joined the Bolsheviks, a radical Marxist group led by the fiery Vladimir Lenin, dedicating his life to the overthrow of the Tsarist regime. He took the name Stalin, meaning man of steel, a fitting moniker for the ruthless revolutionary he would become. The early 20th century was a time of great upheaval in Russia. The Russo-Japanese War and World War I exposed the weakness and incompetence of the Tsarist regime. The people, weary of war and poverty, were ripe for revolution. The Bolsheviks, with their promises of peace, land, and bread, seized the moment. Stalin, though not yet in a leadership role, played a crucial part in the Bolshevik Revolution of 1917. He served as editor of Pravda, the Bolshevik newspaper, using his sharp intellect and even sharper pen to spread revolutionary propaganda. He organized bank robberies and other criminal activities to fund the Bolshevik cause. He was a ruthless and efficient operator, earning Lenin's trust and admiration. When the Tsarist regime finally crumbled, Stalin was poised to ascend the ranks of the new Soviet government. The triumph of the Bolshevik Revolution ushered in a new era for Russia, but it was an era fraught with danger and uncertainty. The country was ravaged by civil war, its economy in ruins. Lenin, the architect of the revolution, was in failing health. A power struggle erupted within the Bolshevik Party, a fight to determine who would succeed Lenin and shape the future of the Soviet Union. Stalin, a master of political maneuvering, played his rivals against each other. He consolidated his power base, placing his allies in key positions within the party and the government. He used his control of the party apparatus to silence his opponents and crush dissent. By the time of Lenin's death in 1924, Stalin had emerged as the undisputed leader of the Soviet Union. Section 5. The Terror: Stalin's Reign of Fear. With absolute power in his grasp, Stalin unleashed a reign of terror that would leave an indelible mark on the Soviet psyche. Driven by paranoia and a desire to crush any potential opposition, he initiated the Great Purge, a period of mass repression that lasted from the mid-1930s to the late 1950s. Millions of people, from high-ranking party officials to ordinary citizens, were accused of treason, sabotage, or counter-revolutionary activities. Show trials were staged, confessions extracted through torture, and millions were sent to the Gulag, a vast network of forced labor camps scattered across the frozen wastelands of Siberia. The Gulag became synonymous with suffering and death, a chilling symbol of Stalin's totalitarian rule. against all odds. Section 7. The Fall of the Titan, Stalin's Death and Legacy. In the aftermath of World War II, Stalin ruled the Soviet Union with an iron fist. He oversaw the expansion of Soviet influence in Eastern Europe, establishing satellite states and solidifying the Iron Curtain that divided Europe for decades. He presided over a period of rapid industrialization and scientific advancement, transforming the Soviet Union into a global superpower. But his paranoia and distrust only deepened with age. He launched a new wave of purges, targeting anyone perceived as a threat to his power, real or imagined. He became increasingly isolated, his grip on reality slipping. On March 5, 1953, Joseph Stalin, the man who had ruled the Soviet Union for nearly 3 decades, died under mysterious circumstances. His death sparked a wave of mourning across the Soviet Union, but it also unleashed a power struggle within the Kremlin, a struggle that would eventually lead to the rise of Nikita Khrushchev and the denunciation of Stalin's crimes. Section 8. A Legacy Forged in Blood and Iron. Joseph Stalin's legacy is a complex and contradictory one. He was a ruthless dictator responsible for the deaths of millions of his own people. His reign of terror left an indelible scar on the Soviet psyche, a legacy of fear and repression that would linger for generations. Yet he was also the leader who transformed the Soviet Union into an industrial and military superpower, the man who led his people to victory in World War II. He dragged Russia kicking and screaming into the 20th century, albeit at a terrible cost. Section 9. The Weight of the Gulag, Stalin's Crimes Against Humanity. To understand the full weight of Stalin's legacy, one must confront the horrors of the Gulag. The Gulag was not just a system of forced labor camps. It was a vast archipelago of suffering, a testament to the depths of human cruelty. Millions of innocent people, men, women, and children, were torn from their homes and families, accused of crimes they did not commit, and sent to these frozen wastelands. They were worked to the bone, starved, tortured, and often killed for the slightest infraction. The Gulag was a microcosm of Stalin's reign, a chilling example of the totalitarian state's power to crush the human spirit. Section 10. The Cold Calculus of Power. Stalin's Place in History. Historians continue to debate Stalin's place in history. Some argue that he was a necessary evil, a ruthless pragmatist who did what he had to do to modernize the Soviet Union and defeat Nazi Germany. They point to his undeniable achievements: the rapid industrialization, the collectivization of agriculture, the victory in World War II, and the emergence of the Soviet Union as a global superpower. Others see him as a monster, a paranoid dictator driven by a lust for power and a callous disregard for human life. They argue that his crimes, the purges, the forced collectivization, and the Gulag, far outweigh any of his accomplishments. Section 11. Conclusion. The unanswered question. The debate over Stalin's legacy is ultimately a debate about the nature of power and the means by which it is achieved. Can great good come from unspeakable evil? Can we separate the achievements from the atrocities? These are questions that continue to haunt us, questions that have no easy answers. Joseph Stalin's life and legacy remain a stark reminder of the human capacity for both greatness and depravity, a cautionary tale about the corrupting nature of absolute